Otunba Babatunde Oshokoya is an Okonlomo. Okonlomo is a title that was not conferred on me. The people gave me. Okonlomo means an only child. He is an Okonlomo. Otunba Babatunde Oshokoya is a great family man. Loves his family, loves his relations, loves people all around him. Otunba Babatunde Oshokoya is a committed nationalist. Believe in my state, believe in my country, and I believe that we should be the best, we should have the best of this country. Otunba Babatunde Oshokoya, even though he looks stern or tough, is pleasant man. Love my children, love my grandchildren, love family people. Otunba Babatunde Oshokoya believes that he has done his best for his state and his country, and is ready and committed to continue to do more and more and more. Thank you very much.
Eke Osana, Seledumare, Eke Osana, oh. 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 You are the son of this day. Congratulations. Happy birthday to you.
This is the story of Otunba Babatunde Oshokoya, MNI, as narrated by himself. It takes us down the memory lane. At the break of the dawn on Wednesday, 14th February 1945, a bouncing baby boy was born to the family of Pa Albert Ilori Oshokoya and Madam Ebunoluwa Olabisi Oshokoya.
I was born 14th February 1945. I was born in Agege, in present-day Lagos State. But my parents, my father, the late Papa Omoba Albert Oshokoya, was born in Omu and Ibido, in the present Udogu local government. And my mother, the late Mama Felicia Ebunoluwa Olabisi Oshokoya, was born in Kenta Okebude in Abeokuta.
For his primary education, Otunba Babatunde Oshokoya attended not less than 3 primary schools before proceeding to the prestigious Ijebuode Grammar School for his secondary education.
Well, I attended 3 primary schools. UNA Primary School, Bugila, in present-day Yewa North. Secondly, St. John's Primary School, Kuto Abeokuta. And finally, District Central School, Agbado, which is in the present Ifa local government. Thereafter, I attended Ijebuode Grammar School from 1958 to 1964 for the West African School Certificate and the Higher School Certificate.
After his higher school certificate education, the young Babatunde Oshokoya had a stint as a rookie teacher at Igomode Grammar School, Ota.
Well, those days, after higher school, we had to wait for another 7, 8, 9 months before the university session would begin. And most of us at that time used to find something doing so that you don't waste all the 8 or 9 months. That was how I got into Igomede Grammar School Ota to teach as a higher school certificate teacher, in the course of which I applied and got admission to the University of Ibadan. I attended the University of Ibadan from 1965 to 1968, where I read history as my major and English and French as my subsidiaries.
As soon as he was done with his 3 years program in the University of Ibadan, he got employed in the civil service of the old western state of Nigeria.
After leaving the university, I taught briefly at Abeokuta Grammar School, from where I joined the Western State Civil Service in 1968 as an admin officer. So when I got a telegram inviting me for interview for entry into the Western State Civil Service, I was really surprised. I came for the first interview. After a few weeks later, I came for the second interview, and finally I was offered the job and invited to come back to Ibadan and join the Western State Civil Service. I really wasn't excited, because for all it mattered, with my performance in the degree exam, the way was open for me to go into a postgraduate program. So I came back, joined the Western State Civil Service. Most of my colleagues in the university, with whom we had the same level of qualification, went into postgraduate. I was in the Western State Civil Service. But I tell you, for that first year, my mind was more in the University of Ibadan than in the civil service. And on many days, each time I closed at the secretariat, I was on the campus. Oftentimes, I in fact slept on the campus in the postgraduate or with my colleagues. But as time went on, opportunities also came up in the civil service. After a year, it was automatic for us to go to the Institute of Administration to do a postgraduate diploma in public administration. By that time, my friends and colleagues were preparing to go abroad to further their postgraduate studies. In fact, many of them applied on my behalf for entry into many of these universities. Well, somehow I went to the State Institute of Administration, and at the end of the program again, I ended up as a joint winner of the best student again in that place. And I was in fact offered the postgraduate master's degree program automatically. Meanwhile, the civil service was writing to me and saying, "Come back to your desk." So again, I came back. But half of my mind was always in the university. After another 2 or 3 years, opportunities for a master's degree came again in the civil service, and I was one of those chosen. I went there again. Again, as usual, I did very well and all that. But somehow, I don't know, I just got stuck in the civil service, whereas my mind was always in the academics. But then I found that by and by, I started enjoying the civil service, and the promotions were coming in, as usual, sometimes faster than normal. And so, by the time my colleagues who went for postgraduate were becoming professor, I was already a permanent secretary at 35. By the time some of them were deans and vice chancellors, I was secretary to the state government. So when I look back at my life, I just thought this civil service career was a matter of providence. I didn't make up my mind for it. I wasn't thinking of it, but somehow I got stuck there and I was doing well and it was okay and fine. So I thought, what can be a better title for my autobiography than Bureaucrat by Providence? A man who is in the bureaucracy, maybe not of his own making, but somehow I think it was Providence that said I should be there. And I thank that Providence for making me a great success in that career.
As a civil servant, he served in several agencies in different capacity and eventually became a permanent secretary in the Ogun State Civil Service following his movement to Ogun State after its creation in 1976. He became a permanent secretary.
I became permanent secretary 35, thanks to the Almighty God. And I served in a number of agencies. The first agency was the governor's office. I was appointed permanent secretary and chief of staff to the governor. In effect, I was the first chief of staff to the governor in the state. After a few years, about 2 or 3 years, I was posted to Central Schools Board, now Teaching Service Commission. After Teaching Service Commission, the military came back and I was posted to Lands Department. The then Lands Department is now about 4, 5 or 6 ministries. From under the Lands Department then, we had lands, we had housing, we had electrical, we had survey, we have town planning. Each of these agencies now have individual permanent secretaries.
Otumba Babatunde Oshokoya's astuteness eventually culminated in his appointment as a secretary to the Ogun State government, and he was at the same time holding forth as the head of service.
And it was when I was in lands that the issue of National Institute came. The National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies is the highest public service training institution up to now. That time they used to encourage states to nominate their own people, maybe once in every 2 or 3 years. When I was due to go to Ekuru, Ogun State had utilized the position only once, and that was through the late T.A. Taiwo. Now, this time when I was in land, the letter came again asking us to nominate. The SSG then had been there before. Our governor then, late General Ladipo Dia, had been there before. So the two of them were interested in making sure that we go. And when they introduced the offer, virtually all my seniors declined. And they then said, okay, let's try Oshokoya. And I said, I don't see what I'm doing here, that I won't go on. Any cost was always my interest. So I opted to go. I went to Kuru, came back. After Kuru, served in agriculture, served in forestry, served in health, served in finance. Meanwhile, there had been a reform of the civil service, as a result of which permanent secretaries were not to be designated as permanent secretaries. They were to be designated as Director General. And the post of Head of Service was cancelled. So we're in another kettle of fish. The first SSG to be appointed was Kojo Adeyemi. who was appointed by Chief Segun Oshoba during his first term. But shortly after that again, the military kept coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. The military came in again, and Kojo Adeyemi had to leave. And the military administrator was fasting again, Colonel Akintonde. And it was Colonel Akintonde who appointed me secretary to God. That was 1994 to 1996. In other words, by the time I assumed that position, I was not yet even fully 50. So, 3 years after, when they changed Akintonde and brought Navy Captain Ewang, after some time, he changed his cabinet. As a result of which I had to leave that position. But by the time I was SSG, there was no head of service. The head of service had gone under the reform. So I had to be doing the work of the head of service. That is why I used to describe myself that time as SSG by office, but also head of service by reality, because there was nobody in the position of head of service at that time. I was doing fully the work of SSG. The other things that related to the service, I also was doing it for the 3 years or so that I was there.
Babatunde Oshokoya is indeed a family man whose marriage to Olori Fola Oshokoya is a blessing that has lasted for more than 48 years and is still waxing stronger.
We got married February 26, 1977, totaling to 48 years.
Mommy, how did the journey start?
We met at the old secretariat in Ibadan. He started dating me. From there, the dating entered into a marriage level, and we got married.
Otumba's glowing comments about his wedding to his heartthrob are without any iota of doubt remarkable.
Well, Olori Folabo Oshokoya, she's from Ishara, in Remo part of the state. I'm from Omo, Odoguru local government. But we met in Ibadan. I was then in the Western State Public Service, and she was also in the Western State Public Service. We met in rather interesting circumstances. I had a colleague in Ibadan. We joined service in the same cadre, the same time. He was Adedara Omiyale, who hailed from Iyin-Ekiti, near Ado-Ekiti, in the present Ekiti state. We were friends, we lived together, we lived very closely and all that. Now, at a point, we joined the service at the same time. We were posted to the same Ministry of Trade and Industry. And we remained there for the first year of our service. After the first year, we were sent to the Institute of Administration, University of Ibadan branch. When we came back from the institute, we were posted differently. But a few years later, he was in the Ministry of Finance as the estimates officer, the man in charge of preparing the estimates. And I had been in the Ministry of Justice for a couple of years and was posted to Ministry of Establishments and Training as Principal Assistant Secretary, Recruitment and Training. When I assumed office, I found that our offices were on the same floor. So very good. We had been friends all along, so it was an opportunity to come together again. So frequently we visited each other. He would come and see me in my office. I would see him in his office. The same floor, rather long floor. So one day I went to his office and I met two ladies. And then we were both bachelors then. In the spirit, in the manner of young men, we joked and I said, you cannot be handling two things at the same time, Adidara. What's happening? He then introduced the two ladies to me. He said, this one is my friend, my girlfriend. This one is her friend. I said, that's good enough. This one is your friend's friend. I am your friend. So automatically, we fit each other well. That was the joke I passed first time. We were there together for some time, and then they left for their office. They were then both in the Ministry of Education in Ibadan, which was quite close to our block. I was in the Treasury block. That was where the Minister of Finance and especially in were. So a couple of times later, we used to meet there. And I joked and I said, ṣé màmá wo ọ̀rẹ́ yìí ni àbí kankan bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn. So gradually we started talking. And then very shortly after, the scholarships board of the Ministry of Education was meeting to interview candidates for Western State Scholarship. And coincidentally, as Principal Assistant Secretary Recruitment and Training, I was a member of the scholarship board. So we resumed meetings of the scholarship board. We were there for almost 3 weeks. And these two ladies were in the students division, which was the division managing the scholarships board. So that was how we met again. And for the next 3 weeks, we were seeing each other every day at the interviews. Well, the rest is now history. And we thank God it's been excellent and fine all the way. She's a beautiful woman, beautiful, physically beautiful in character, beautiful in everything. And she has been a major source of support for me, especially in my work. As I rose higher, the responsibilities became heavier. I had to spend less and less time at home, more and more time in the office. She did the rest for me at home, gave me peace, gave me good support. She also gave me very beautiful children. We had Babatunde Ayobami, who was our first child, named after me because the circumstances of our birth were the same. I was born shortly after my grandfather's death. He was also born shortly after my own father's death. So, Babatunde, very nice boy, did well, brilliant, exceptionally brilliant. Unfortunately, we lost him. He was a medical student at the then Ogun State University, and she passed on just as he entered the clinical stages. Then, of course, there is our sister, Baba Funke, who read at Babcock University, and who is today an administrative officer in the Ogun State Public Service, doing very well. There's Baba Fonto Lawali, who is also proceeding with his own university right now, and is also working at the Ogun State Public Service. So I got them through her. She has also given me beautiful grandchildren. Adeyosola, who is doing her A levels now. Beautiful, beautiful lady, very brilliant. At the end of her secondary school program in her secondary school, she won a lot of prizes, including history, English, and one or two others. That's interesting because English and history happen to have been my own best subjects too, in the secondary school and in the university. So she's someone who's taken very much after me. She's on my A levels now. She's also a volleyballer. My second grandchild, Ade Damola, very brilliant too. But he has also taken after me in sports. He's a great sports enthusiast. And we support the same club, Manchester United. The third grandchild, Adiri Sola, she's an all-round sports lady. I'm doing very well. So I've been happy with Olori because she's married to an Otumba, a royal Otumba. So she has to bear Olori too. She's Olori, Yeye Tejumade of Omo. She's also Taye She of Kenta Abekuta when I took on the title of Okoye of Abekuta. So it's been wonderful with her, beautiful with her. If we go back to this world another time, we'll probably still be together.
Otumba Babatunde Oshokoya holds two significant chieftaincy titles in Omu-Ijebu and Abeokuta.
My father hailed from Omu and also partly from Ibido, both in Udogbodu local government. My father was a descendant of Adeloya, one of the children of Adekiyeri, the founder of Omu-Ijebu. And that is the origin of my title, Otumba Adeloya of Omu-Ijebu. My mother hailed from Kenta Okibode in Abeokuta, and that's how I was given the title of Oboye of Kenta, Abeokuta.
After his retirement from the civil service, he later found his way back through his appointment as the chairman of the Ogun State Civil Service Commission by His Excellency Otumba Senator Gbenga Daniel, former governor of Ogun State.
I retired from the service as Secretary to State Government in 1996, much earlier than I should have done. By the time I retired, I hadn't served the statutory period of either whether it was 55 then or 60. It was premature totally. And it was because my second military administrator, Navy Captain Samewan, decided to dissolve his cabinet. And since I was a member of cabinet, I had to go with the cabinet. There was no way I could remain as a public servant again. So I left. And immediately I left, I went into public service management training, management consultancy. I was running programs for government agencies, federal and state, both here and outside of the state. It was quite exciting, quite interesting. Then I was on this for about 6-7 years when Otumba Gbenga Daniel came to be the governor of Ogun State. Otumba Gbenga Daniel and I hail from the same place, Omu, local government. And coming into the governorship of the city invited me to come and assist in administering the state. And of course, what better way could I assist than in the public service? So he appointed me chairman, Civil Service Commission. And from that point, I stopped my training and consultancy. I took on this job for about 7 years, 2 tenures, 2 terms. I found that job quite interesting because now I was holding a political appointment, different from the civil service appointment that I had held, and very interesting. I'd like to commend Chief Otumba Gbenga Daniel, who gave me every opportunity to express myself and to do what I wanted to do within the ambits of the law. What were we doing in the Civil Service Commission? Appointments, promotions, discipline, sometimes transfer of staff. That's why. And we made very monumental achievements in terms of appointments. Prior to us, appointments were not coming in regularly. It opened the door for us. We recruited many people. We did a lot of promotions. We did a lot of training. And indeed, up to today, a number of people I meet in social events around still identify me. And the 2 significant achievements that I reckon directly the Civil Service Commission were: 1, promotion exam. Prior to our tenure in the Civil Service Commission, promotion was mainly through upper forms, reports, and then interviews and other things. But we went to one of our Civil Service National Commission meetings, and the idea came to us that some agencies were doing examination before promotion, particularly the Federal Civil Service Commission and 1 or 2 other states. We discussed it generally at that meeting, and I came back and reported to my governor that I saw this development, and I think I consider it very good, especially for Ogun State, where we were possibly the beginning of public service in Nigeria, and where the element of the level of literacy is very high. He agreed. It was not easy starting. Any new thing was always difficult. It's always difficult up to now. And of course, asking people to come and take exam for promotion, it was tough beginning. You had to bring in the unions, everybody, and they agreed. But when we took the first step, it was even more difficult. Because as in any exam, not everybody would pass. And when we got the exam, we brought in ASCON, as Administrative College of Nigeria, to do it for us 2 months. And the people who failed objected. Who said, "How can I fail?" No, I don't agree. I will not agree. There was a lot of problems. And my humble self and my colleagues in the commission had to take a stand. This was our first exam, and unless we stood by it, the exam would not stand. So as long as we were satisfied with the parameters, with everything that was used, we had to stand by it. The matter was brought before the governor. A series of meetings were held. I want to thank the governor once again, Otumba Gbenga Daniel. Once we explained our stand, gave him all the details, he stood by us. And that first result was upheld and used. Unfortunately, few people lost by it, but by and large, the majority of the people were satisfied. So We took the first step, took the second step. It was less difficult. By and by and by. I hope the promotion exam is still on now. But I see it as one of the major achievements of my commission. The other thing was in the area of training. Training was not actually one of our responsibilities. But if you recall, as I said earlier, I have a kind of fancy for reading, training, education, and all that. So when I got to the commission, I said, we're supposed to appoint, recruit, promote, this thing and all that. Why can't we also involve ourselves in some training to improve the staff? So we started organizing training programs within the commission. Later, we allowed people from outside the commission to come and join us. We picked a topic, then we looked for a sound person from around, not just within the service, from outside the service. Then we are doing it at least quarterly. So gradually, people from outside the service began to join us, and the thing became very exciting. At the end of a year, it just occurred to us in the commission, if we do this thing and go on, why don't we do recording of some of the topics, some of the lectures? So we sat down. I was the editor-in-chief. I started editing the topics, the lectures, and we then decided that we publish them. And that gave birth to what we called managing a bureaucracy. Managing a bureaucracy. That was the book published by the Civil Service Commission for the first time. I guess to be the first in many other states too. I hope that book is still on, Managing a Bureaucracy by the State Civil Service Commission, which we did annually. So the training, the promotion exam, I consider them as the major achievements of my administration. And of course, we did more appointments than before. We did more promotions than before. And by the grace of God, and with the support of my governor, we did 2 terms, and of course, bowed out.
Otumba Babatunde Albertson Oshokoya talks about 2 significant events that he can never forget in his life.
Many of them. Maybe I take the permanent secretary, was of course one of the most pleasant days of my life. One, I didn't plan for civil service. It wasn't in my program. And as I keep on saying, I've been a bureaucrat by providence. And I was moving fast. But one of the greatest days was when I was made permanent secretary at the age of 35. It was a great day in life. And of course, another day I remember was the day I lost my first son, Babatunde Ayobami, who was doing well, moving fast, and suddenly this came. So these are 2 days that I think have been remarkable. One on the plus side, the other on the negative side. I like to be remembered for many things. One is that my attraction to academics has been great. I loved books, I loved reading, I loved writing. And not only recently, when age is catching up, but I now do less and less of reading. Other than that, I like reading, I like television, I like so many things. Secondly, I love the service. Even though I got there almost by surprise, I love the service and I'm always interested in promoting the interests of the service. Thirdly, I'm a family man. I'm always interested in my family. I'm always trying my best to see what I can do to promote their interests. I'm also a community man of my community. Indigenous of Umu, indigenous of Kenta, Bekuta, indigenous of Remo, I'm always involved with them, meeting and seeing how we can bring each other up, how we can bring up our community. And of course, I'm a great sports enthusiast. Right from secondary school, I've been into sports, playing. If you look at my feet, many of the sores that are there are the things I got from playing football on the field, on the ground, all kinds of places. And that interest came up with me, and I ended up as chairman of Ogun State Football Association for many years. And it was when I became the secretary to government that I relinquished the position to allow others to run the place. Today, I'm still a great football enthusiast.
Otumba Oshokoya came across numerous people during the course of his journey in life, from his childhood years through schools, adulthood, the civil service, and beyond. The impressions garnered from a handful of the people interviewed are outstanding and remarkable.
He's very gentle. He's an administrator. He's like a father to me, like a brother, like a father to me. I enjoy staying with him.
My father is caring, loving, gentle, easygoing. Is a problem solver. Then, and father to everyone, loved by all.
I don't think I can exhaust talking about the kind of father he is, because he's so loving, caring. He's somebody you can always look up to, a mentor. I can recollect the kind of the way he kind of rapport with me. Sometimes I call him, I say, fine boy, alpha, fine boy. So he's this kind of a loving person, always fun to be with.
And I love him as a father. I'm always happy. He's a very gentleman, quiet. One thing I love in him so much is that if you cry inside his house, you are going to laugh when you're coming out.
I know Babatunde Oshokoya right from childhood. We were first cousins, and we always stayed together during the holidays. We are called Tom and Jerry in family circle. Whenever we were on holidays, university strikes, I used to spend those free periods with Otumba Tunde Oshokoya. And during those years in the university, he used to give me pocket money. I can describe him as loco imperatus, and also my de facto uncle for all that he was doing for me at that time, in spite of the fact that there were 2 months age difference between two of us.
Daddy Shokoya, as I fondly called him, is somebody that is very nice, a strong man, dedicated and intelligent. He's also an accommodating person. What I appreciate most in him is that he's somebody that respects, even if you are younger to him. Because I can remember anytime I celebrate my birthday, Daddy will send message to me. Then he will later call and pray for me. Then during my position as head of service, he will call me, Elijah, mo kàn ní kí n gbúròó yín ni o. How is work going o? That's Daddy Oshokoya for you. So it's somebody that you can rely on. Very nice man, very accommodating, and in fact he has a large heart. And it's also one thing about him is that he's not stingy at all. He gives people what he has.
Otumba Babatunde Oshokoya is an erudite of calmness, intelligence, brilliance, and a very compassionate and understanding man to all and sundry. He's a lover of all, and is a man with a very large heart.
I would describe Baba Oshokoya as an administrator par excellence, a good man, and a man who loved young people at that time. I remember quite vividly one of those times that we were preparing the budget for the states, and there was a little error in our calculation, and he was telling us that if we are unable to detect, and he has already detected the error, and he said if we are unable to detect that error, then we will withdraw our certificates. Hard-working man. He will work till midnight, 1, 12 a.m., all the time, hard work. So I caught the virus of hard work from him.
We first met in 1958 at Jawude Grammar School. We entered the school same year, 1958, and we passed out in year 2000 and in 1962. Some of us did the higher school program for another 2 years. Oshokoya was one of them. I was one too, and we left in 1964. Has been a very good man, very humble, brilliant, honest too, and hardworking too, very hardworking. And you can rely on him at any time.
My first encounter with him was when I was in OPIC. And I joined OPIC in 1984, and I rose through the ranks to become the managing director and chief executive of OPIC by the grace of God. I met him personally because the few challenges that I felt I encountered at that time, taking some decisions, I needed somebody that was experienced to discuss with him, to guide me on the best approach to tackle the issues. He took me like a brother. He took me like a son. He took me like a relative. And he was very, very friendly with me. He did his best. He also tested me to see whether I had the leadership qualities. And according to him, he gave me a test. He told me an approach to execute a particular challenge. I did it the way I felt it was right. And at the end of the day, he commended it. And ever since then, I moved closer to him. Two people like that I moved close to. Prince Tunde Shuka and Princess Iyabo Dulate.
He had been a very quiet, lovely son, very bright. I think he was the brightest of all the children of my dad, of our dad, I would say. Very helpful, There are lots of things that he took upon himself to do for the family. Even with the elders, although I wasn't around, I was in the north for a long time. But he was the one that was carrying the responsibility, despite the fact that he was the last born of the 9 children of my dad.
I met him when I was posted to the Ministry of Agric as Principal Assistant Secretary. That was when I met him, and I was told he was this, he was the PAMSEC, and that was how we met. Well, I will first and foremost say he had a sense of humor, and then the other thing was he was a disciplinarian too. Those are the things I can say about him.
He's always been a very wonderful man. He's been a gentleman to the core. He's been a very distinguished civil servant, and somebody who has done so well. He's had a very good career. I mean, he rose to become the secretary to the state government in the state, having held so many key positions as permanent secretary of various ministries and all that. And he's somebody I hold in very high regard.
Otumba Babatunde Oshokoya happened to be my boss, a friend, a mentor, and a team player. I got to know him when I resumed in the office in 1976, December, after my youth service. I did not know that he was in the same secondary school with one of my brothers. From that moment, he saw me as his own sister, and he treated me all the way. You can imagine at times when I decide to be naughty, because at that point in time, there are so many things you did not understand. He will sit me down and tell me, you don't do it like that. You have to do it this way. This is how to do it. And at a point in time, I was not referring to him as admin officer, whatever, administrative officer, whatever I was. I kept on calling him Brother Tunde until today. If I see him in a multitude, I will still continue to shout his name. Brother Tunde, this is what. One thing that I know about him is that he is soft-spoken. He doesn't shout down on people. Yet, he was able to bring us to himself, because he will sit you down, explain whatever has to be explained to you, as if he was talking to his sister or his own daughter. So that mentorship is much more than what you can buy with money.
He's a gentleman, really. I've known him since secondary school period. I think I started knowing him in 1960. We didn't know even that we were from the same place. So we were in the boarding house. He too was in the boarding house. He was my senior. And it's unlike all the other seniors, they punished the junior ones. But he was never in that group. He's the type of person that will, even when he knows that the punishment is too much, he will come and pay to. He'll take it like that just for some time. So he's a complete gentleman.
Prince Oshokoya is a loyal, dedicated, trustworthy person. He works without complaint for the period I was here, from when he started working with me. And I enjoy his services. He's a fine gentleman. He never complains, like I said earlier. And he has the interest of even the civil service, because most time try to put effort to see that we can train the civil servants that we had in the state then, not just but for the civil servants. They may not know, but he was applying pressure on me that time for us to have training for our civil servants.
He has been a very good in-law, a kind-hearted man, a jovial man, and a man that wants peace and is always ready to resolve disputes or issues if there's issue within the family.
Otumba Oshokoya puts pen to paper and wrote his autobiography titled Bureaucrat by Providence. This book is making waves within readers, career civil servants, researchers, and the general public. So when one looks out at what he had contributed to the system, one cannot but thank God for his life and for blessing Ogun State with somebody of that caliber.
One of the most pleasant days of my life was the day I launched my autobiography. For any career man, an autobiography is very, very important. It's the opportunity to put to paper what has been your experience in and outside service. And it's an opportunity to allow the younger ones to learn from your career, from your life. I commend the book for serving officers, for scholars. I think there's a lot that can be learned there. And I also want to encourage my colleagues who have not done their autobiography to find time to do it.
I can recall vividly that at a very tender age, he attained the position of a permanent secretary in Ogun State. We came together from the western state, from Ibadan to Abeokuta. But at that time, I could see that at his very young age, he attained that position, which is a unique one. Furthermore, within 6 years of becoming a permanent secretary, he was appointed the secretary to the state government of Ogun State. And where all this made me to actually pick him as my role model in the civil service, because I could see him as a perfect example of humility, hard work, resourcefulness, humanism.
I met him in the 70s, late 70s, when I was in service. Although I never worked with him, but because of the place I was working, the Ministry of Information, so we were interacting a lot. So that was when I met him. That's been long ago, but to me, I think it's as if I worked with him, because he has taken me as his, maybe I will not say as a daughter. He's a very humble, gentle, so quiet, very kind, very fatherly. He's very accommodating and very, very humble.
Well, he was my contemporary at the University of Ibadan about 60 years ago. We entered in 1965 and we graduated together in 1968. Today, we used to refer to him then as Prince. Was one of the most outstanding students in our generation, who by God's providence entered into the civil service.
I say that it's a lot of responsibility, sense of responsibility, because you would have ended up in academia like somebody like me.
Mr. Luka is an extremely very brilliant man. Extremely very brilliant. Extremely very accommodating. Extremely very analytical in thought and in writing. If you care to read his book when he was 70 years of age, that's almost 10 years ago, it's an epitome of humility, of knowledge, very, very fine, very social and sociable. He's a very nice person to be with.
Lẹ́yìn Ọlọ́run, bàbá dẹ̀ ló tún kọ́ ọ̀nà ayé mi. Where I am today is Baba Oshokoya, and to the glory of God. Baba, come on, Baba did a lot in my life. Baba no brought me up. Gbogbo tí mo jẹ́ lónìí Baba ni. Let me put it that way.
One thing I appreciate in his mentorship is that when you did something wrong, you'll be scolded by Prince Oshokoya. But later, he will come to you again and explain to you why he did scold you the other time. And you will also be satisfied that he has done the proper thing that should have been done for you.
He has played, different roles in my life. As a friend, as an uncle, as a father, and as a confidant. And that relationship is still, blossoming, and is still very strong. And in the family, it's like it's a given. He's a peacemaker.
A thorough bred professional who handles his jobs with diligence and thoroughness.
To me, Otumba Oshokoya is like my father because I lived with him for over 17 years. He has been so kind and generous because he allowed us, even while I was young, so very young, to live with him, with the wife. He sent us to school. He even got us, even the work I'm doing is the one that got me the job.
Nígbà tí mo dọ̀dọ̀ wọn, mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ wọn lákòókò tí mo dọ̀dọ̀ wọn. Ọlá wọn tí mo dẹ̀ lọ́jọ́ ìní mo jọlá lára wọn láti 2012 oṣù kẹjọ ọjọ́ kìíní mo fi dọ̀dọ̀ wọn.
Ọ̀túnba Babátúndé Òṣókọ̀yà jẹ́ ẹlẹ́ni ojú àánú, ẹni téèyàn ṣe fọkàn tán àti lè pọ̀ ní aláàánú mẹ̀kúnnù.
Foremost, he's a gentleman. He's a principled man, erudite, learned, and an achiever.
Well, to God be the glory. He's very good to us. He helped me a lot, and I continue to honor him anyhow, anywhere.
He has contributed quite a lot to human capital development in the larger society. He has mentored so many people, and he has contributed quite a lot to building people, mentoring them.
I will call him an adopted uncle. He's an easygoing man. He doesn't like offending people. And when you offend him, he takes it easy with you until he sees you.
I noticed that our guy is a very meticulous person
highly organized, and very sympathetic.
Yeah, Prince Babatunde Oshokoya is an embodiment of virtues. And when you want to talk about upholding the integrity and reputation of public service, I give it to him. And he will continue to be a reference point, for posterity. And may the Almighty God continue to grant him good health in Jesus' name.
Otumba Babatunde Oshokoya is 80 solid years on the planet Earth, and here is wishing him many more glorious years on the land of the living.
Grandpa's been a great man ever since I met him. He's always been nice to me and my brother, my sister. Always talk on the phone every day when I'm in London. And yes, he's going old, but hopefully he sees many years to come. And I wish him a very happy birthday. Happy birthday, Grandpa. Have a nice day.
Happy birthday, Grandpa. I wish you long life and prosperity. And I pray that as you turn 80, you continue to grow older, turn 90 and 100, and nothing bad will happen to you.
I wish him long life and prosperity as he's going to stay more long years and healthy years because.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Grandpa. Happy birthday to you.
I still wish him long life and abundant prosperity. That one to be continuous.
I wish him long life and prosperity. That day, though for the past some months you've been saying you already have your boarding pass. Anytime you're playing, you'll be announced. So to me, there is nothing like that.
I would love to continue seeing him. If it's possible, he should continue living.
I pray that Almighty God will continue to be with him. Almighty God will strengthen him. He will live more than 80 years by His grace.
My wish for him that he should be 120 so that we can garner more of his experience that's very useful for us now.
I wish him good health. I wish him longer life. But my most important thing, my prayer for him is that God Almighty continue to grant him more wisdom.
I wish him many happy returns of the February 14th, which is usually the Valentine Day.
I wish him well. I wish him the very best.
My prayer is that God should do the best He wishes for himself.
I wish him the very best of luck. I wish him, I was going to say many more years.
My wish for him is to live long.
I wish him a long life.
If it is possible, I want him to be 120.
I wish him best in everything that he wants to do.
The biggest wish I have is that we have Baba with us for much longer.
Our Father in heaven, we continue to be with him and bless him with long life, prosperity, and above all, peace of mind.
I wish him the best. I wish him good health and long life.
The joy of the Lord, the peace of the Lord, happiness that surpasses everything, and above all, good health. So continue to enjoy this great grace the Lord has given him, to continue to enjoy his old age as he's aging. It also runs in the family that you can't tell their age by looking at them. My dad is going to be 87 on the 6th of January. And you'll be like, is this man 3 years to 90? Well, that's the truth. It's the Lord's doing. And we're so happy as a family. And I, as a person, I'm so glad that he's clocking 80. That's a milestone. That's a huge one for us. And he has weathered the storm. He has overcome life challenges.
But then we sit back and we look and say, God, thank you.
And finally, his wish for himself at 80.
I wish for myself good health, good health, good health. I wish for myself that my family continues to do well. My children, I love them. They're doing well. They're my joy today. I pray that they continue to do well. Particularly my grandchildren. I love my grandchildren. I'm a family man. I'm a family man. And I'm happy with the members of my family. A lot of things that are happening with this 80th birthday is through my family. I've told my people I'm fed up of big parties. When I was 40, I did a big party. When I was 50, I was SLP, did a big party. When I was 60, I was chairman Civil Service Commission, did a big party. When I was 70, I did my autobiography, I did a big party. And I've said, I've had enough of parties, big parties. But they have insisted that you have to do something. Like this interview is a product of one member of my family, Mrs. Kemi Oshokoya Shomoye. It's my niece, probably my favorite niece. And others have come up and so I'm a family man. I enjoy them. I enjoy my mother's family as well. My wife's family, they're also part of this program. I enjoy them. I'm happy. I pray for good health, and I pray that God continues to give me the opportunity to contribute to this state, to the service to Nigeria. We're still looking into the service. It is the only job that we have done before. If an Agbero man goes into the garage now, he's back at home. So as far as I'm concerned, anytime I say anything that I'm back at home, and we always try to project the interest of this. We have an association of retired heads of service and cabinet secretaries. I am the immediate past chairman, and I remain active in that association because it is for the service, it's for the good of the state and the nation.